By 2014, every major studio wanted their own Avengers. With the $1.5 billion success of Marvel's 2012 superhero crossover, the MCU had established an entirely new model, not only for superhero films, but franchise storytelling at large. The DCEU launched with The Man of Steel in 2013. The Amazing Spider-Man series was intended to establish an all-new interconnected Sony Spider-Verse, and even Universal, which had been cucked by Disney out of the rights of Marvel characters like the Hulk, was fantasizing about a shared dark universe inhabited by classic movie monsters like the Wolfman and the Mummy. While not all of these plans got off the ground, and those that did turned out to be, let's say, a mixed bag, a new Avengers-style model was all the rage, and to an extent, it still is. But what about 20th Century Fox? How could the studio turn the already ensemble-driven X-Men franchise into an even bigger crossover ensemble event? By mashing up the series' past, present, and future. Welcome to Superhero Cinema Club, an in-depth exploration of the history of superhero films. I'm Mark Schiff, and joining me as always, it's the Bill Stryker to my Bolivar Trask. It's Mike Carnes.
Oh man, he's all young and handsome in this one too, just like me.
Totally. That's why you got the nickname.
I like it.
Mike, was it just me, or does he look like Evil Stifler, this actor? Like, looking at him, I'm just like, you're like Stifler, but bad. Like...
Yeah, no, that's a great comparison.
Okay, I mean, all respect, I'm not sure what his name is. He does a fine job in this film, but I'm just saying, I just kept being like, that's like Evil Stifler.
He definitely shrunk like 1.5 feet to become the Stryker that we know at X2.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm not sure.
He's a lot taller.
Totally. The similarities aren't super amazing, but that's okay. Today we're going to talk about the fifth film in the X-Men series, 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past. As with all of the X-Men films, you can stream them on Disney Plus or rent them. Highly recommend you revisit before you listen to our podcast, but shout out to the sickos who just raw dog it. We love those guys. Some of our favorite listeners.
That term means something way different, but okay.
Way different, but that's all right. Yeah, really excited to talk about this one, Mike. As alluded to in the intro, this was kind of the big superhero crossover for the X-Men movies. And it really got me thinking, this has got to rank among the greatest ensemble casts in superhero history. In my mind, there's three films that are head and shoulders above the rest. In the X-Men franchise, you've got Days of Future Past, which combines the original X-Men with the younger prequel versions. You've got The Dark Knight, which won Heath Ledger an Academy Award and has just an amazing ensemble. It's a smaller ensemble, certainly, than the X-Men films, but it's just absolutely swimming with talent. And then, of course, you have Avengers Endgame, which is just the end-all, be-all of all the Marvel crossovers. Those, to me, are the three really big superhero ensemble casts. If we want to reach back to our first season and throw the original Superman in there, I think to a certain extent, you got any other thoughts in terms of what are some of the great ensemble superhero casts?
I would actually rate Infinity War higher than Endgame. We'll talk more about that when we get to season 35 of our show. But I think that does a better job of like giving everyone equal time in that movie, because there's a lot of different action set pieces that everybody shares time with and a lot of fun little team ups that you don't really expect in that one. So I would say that one's a little more enjoyable for my own tastes. No mention of Justice League, no Snyder Cut. What's going on here?
That's a really good call out. I think for this exercise, what I'm thinking of is esteemable. So really award-winning actors, people that are extremely high on...
You're going actor more than characters then. That's what you're saying.
Definitely. Yeah. So we're talking about actors, and again, esteemable actors, the ones that have won awards. It got me thinking, Mike. I came up with a new advanced metric for superhero cinema, and it's called the Apollon score. This is awards per lead actor as of now. Okay.
Okay.
Now, initially, I was thinking I would calculate the Appellate score, which would be awards per lead actor at time of release. I didn't really, frankly, have the time to subtract, let's say, Robert Downey Jr.'s Oscar that he won and his awards that he won for Oppenheimer, people that have won awards since their last film appearance, probably is a better baseline metric because the Apollon score will continue to change throughout time.
Give me the acronym there. What is Apollon?
Awards per lead actor as of now.
Okay.
The way that I calculated this metric is that an Oscar win or nomination gets you 2 points. An Emmy, Golden Globe, or BAFTA nomination gets you 1 point. You could say that maybe this should be calculated where a win is more heavily weighted than just a nomination. To that, I would counter, as we see all the time, the person that wins isn't always the most deserving.
Mm.
So I feel like the nomination itself is just, you gave an award nominated performance. I think that should be the metric.
So we're looking for the movie with the most accolades, essentially, by actor.
By cast, exactly. By total cast. So, Mike, out of the 3 that I just mentioned, Avengers Endgame, The Dark Knight, and X-Men Days of Future Past, what would you guess has the highest Apollon score in total points?
My immediate instinct is Dark Knight. Christian Bale is a 2-time Academy Award winner, something like that. Heath Ledger won for that role. Definitely not Aaron Eckhart. I don't think he's won or been nominated for anything, but we've got at least 3 Oscars sitting just on the shelf for that movie there. Gary Oldman.
Really, really solid guess. Dark Knight is number 2. By Apollon score, 113 points spread among 7 cast members, 22 total Oscars, 22 total BAFTAs, 12 Emmys, and 35 Golden Globes. In just 7 actors, Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Aaron Eckhart, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Morgan Freeman. Now, the number 1, it's probably not surprising because it included 16, more than double the cast. That's Avengers Endgame. The total Apollon score for Avengers Endgame, 148 points among 16 cast members. That's Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd, Brie Larson, Karen Gillan, Zoe Saldana, Bradley Cooper, who I'm counting.
Sure.
Really inflates their Apollon score.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow and Josh Brolin. X-Men Days of Future Past, knowing that we got 113 on Dark Knight, 148 for Avengers. We've got 11 cast members that I calculated on X-Men. Mike, you have any guesses around the total points, the total Apollon points?
So we were at 140 approximately and 110, 115?
150 and 110, respectively.
Okay. I'll say 93 is my guess.
109.
Oh, wow, okay.
For the 11. Hugh Jackman, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult, Halle Berry, Elliot Page, Peter Dinklage, Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, and Evan Peters. X-Men Days of Future Past, 11 total Oscars, 19 BAFTAs, 35 Emmys, 31 Golden Globes. In order to look at this in a different way, I took the total points and divided by cast members for an average score. You care to guess which of these has the highest average score?
Whoa, okay. So the movie itself gets an average divided by the number of actors, is what you're saying?
Yeah, the total cast members divided by the number of Apollon points is the average per actor.
Mark, you're making my head hurt with all these made up metrics, but I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to say it's probably not Avengers because we have more actors in that, and so because of that, their average lowers, right?
That is correct.
I would probably give it to Dark Knight because that's a lesser stacked cast. They don't have as many ringers in that movie as compared to Avengers.
That's exactly right. 16.14 average Apollon score for the actors. 22 Oscars, 22 BAFTAs, 12 Emmys, 35 Golden Globes. Pretty impressive all the way around. X-Men is actually number 2 at 9.91 average, and Avengers comes in third at 9.25 average. So these are the heavyweights, dog. These are the movies where they were not messing around. They were like, I want Oscar-winning actors. I want real talent here. And boy, did that deliver in this film, Mike. Without further ado, let's jump into our very first category, The Tale of the Cape. X-Men Days of Future Past was released on May 23rd, 2014 in the United States. Had a budget of approximately $200 million. Mike, do you know how much X-Men Days of Future Past grossed worldwide?
I do not. Tell me.
$746 million on
God damn.
a $200 million budget. Yeah, this is a big success for Fox. It was the sixth highest grossing film of 2014. I would be shocked if you can name number one. Shocked, Mike. Frankly, I'd be shocked if you could name three of the top five.
2014 top grossing movies. Nope, not coming to me.
Yeah, it's tough. This is a tough one. Transformers Age of Extinction, $1.1 billion for that piece of garbage.
I still don't think I've seen that one. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to guess another one. I do have a guess. Edge of Tomorrow?
No, Edge of Tomorrow did not make the top 10 even.
Ah, man.
The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, $962 million at number 2.
That's crazy.
Mike, you defend those movies somewhat?
I do like the first Hobbit movie quite a bit. I think it's pretty good. I think if they had just split it into two movies like they wanted to do originally, the second one would have been great, but they overinflated themselves, and number 2 and 3 are pretty trash. So I'm not going to defend those.
Number 3 of 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy, followed by Maleficent, another movie that, wow, that was the fourth highest grossing, $758 million. Number 5, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, Jennifer Lawrence, all the rage in 2014.
You want to defend that one, right?
I'm not going to defend that one, Mike. The first 200 Hunger Games, I'm happy to defend. Coming in at number 7 was Captain America, The Winter Soldier. So X-Men Days of Future Past grossed more money than Captain America, which I thought was interesting. Number 9, Amazing Spider-Man 2. We'll be talking about that soon enough. And number 10, Interstellar. So that's your look at the box office in the year of 2014. Getting back to the X-Men here, the plan for the sequel to X-Men First Class, which we discussed on our previous episode, was to bring back Matthew Vaughn, who directed that film. However, Vaughn had a vision that was basically to do another 70s set X-Men movie before completing a trilogy with Days of Future Past set in the 80s. Mike, do you know what two-time superhero cinema star he envisioned as a young Wolverine?
Tom Hardy. I don't know.
You're dang right it's Tom Hardy. Nice job.
Am I really?
Yes,
All right.
Tom Hardy. Yeah, he had kind of envisioned someone like Tom Hardy taking over for Wolverine in the 70s and then doing Days of Future Past to finish off the trilogy of films. He and his writing partner, Jane Goldman, had finished a draft of the script, but Fox was like, oh, Days of Future Past. That sounds Avengers-y. Let's do it now. Matthew Vaughn took the Kingsman job, and he was actually going to have someone else direct the second X-Men, then come back for Days of Future Past after he was done with Kingsman, but wasn't too happy with them jumping the gun and rushing into Days of Future Past next. So he left the project, and they brought in Simon Kinberg to write the script. Mike, I think this is an amazing superhero script. Kinberg did a really, really good job. He completed the assignment. I think the changes that he made really make sense to the original storyline. Specifically, Kitty Pryde is the one who's sent back in time in the comic. Instead, obviously, she's the one that is sending back Wolverine. He mentions, oh, well, I have a healing ability, so I'm the only one that can do it, which is like, yes, of course. You know, your healing ability would make you the natural choice for this. The integration between the young and the old cast, I think, works really well. And as we'll get into later, I think it has some really resonant themes. So bravo, Simon Kinberg. You did a really good job with the script.
There's a lot of good emotion to this story, too, from all the different characters. Everybody kind of gets their own little piece to talk about why they should care about this plot, and it works really well. And the actors deliver on those little monologues or conversations, I think.
Now, the big news for us comic book nerds at the time was that they were bringing back Bryan Singer to the X-Men franchise after sitting out the last two films. As we've discussed before, and we kind of have to qualify every time his name comes up.
I know.
Bryan Singer sucks. There were some accusations that surfaced right before the release of this film, so he didn't really participate in a lot of the marketing around it. As far as comic book directors go, he's definitely an elite company, and it was really, really exciting news, I think, for all X-Men fans when they announced that he was going to come back to direct this. Not only had he proven his chops with the original cast, but it was really exciting to see how he was going to work with the younger actors. Along with Singer came his crew and creative partners that had worked on previous X-Men films. Amongst these people, I personally would really want to give shout out to a couple of them, specifically cinematographer Newton Thomas Siegel and editor and composer John Ottman. Mike, you've been, let's say, not effusive in your praise of the X-Men scores up to this point.
I haven't been that harsh.
I wouldn't say harsh, you're just ambivalent.
That's true.
He brings back the X2 theme for this, and as you probably noticed at the very beginning with the 20th Century Fox fanfare, they add a little stinger with the X-Men theme. I think we can all say now that we know the X-Men theme. That is kind of the iconic one, and I think that this version, whatever he does to it, I'm not technical enough to understand how he tweaked it, but this to me was easily the best score of all the X-Men films thus far.
100% agreed. This is absolutely the best score out of all the movies that we've watched at this point to date. You know, there's this like piano motif at the end of the movie where things have died down and it's a lot calmer, like when Wolverine's waking up and he's seeing, oh, everybody's alive and I'm back in the mansion and stuff. It reminded me a lot of the end of Inception, basically, where that Hans Zimmer piano, motif for, I think the song is called Time.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is just beautiful. It's emotional. It's like totally capturing the appropriate emotion of the moment here. Yeah, I think this is a great score all around. I think he did a great job.
Yeah, it's really effective. And the closing title version with the credits is just spectacular. Definitely the best X-Men music so far. And I think just watching this even more than Superman Returns, which he also worked on as an editor and composer, you could see the way that his editing and the music interplay really complemented each other very well. And there's a couple specific things I'm going to shout out for that later, as well as Thomas Newton Siegel's cinematography, which it just looks great. And there's a lot of cool creative decisions they made as far as those elements. Now, because they're reuniting the original cast with the cast of X-Men First Class, there's not a whole lot of new actors in this film, but there is one major new addition. That would be Peter Dinklage as Bolivar Trask. Obviously, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, this was in the middle of his, I will use the word iconic run as Tyrion Lannister on Game of Thrones.
He's at the height of his power.
Oh,
I can cut that out.
It's a decent joke, but Peter Dinklage was in the midst of an amazing run, and I think he does an amazing job in this role. Honestly, Mike, just his line deliveries and his fascination with mutants, but his revulsion of them as well. I like that there's just subtext about what's your deal with prejudice against people who are different. Peter Dinklage, they never overtly address that, but the subtext is good, and he's just a really talented actor. I love when he is in the briefing room with Superhero Cinema Club All-Star President Richard Nixon, who will appear in at least one other superhero cinema film.
The actor or the character?
The character. Richard Nixon is like the one president. I guess JFK gets shouted out here a little bit, which we'll talk about more, but Richard Nixon's also a central figure in Watchmen as well, Mike. So he will make multiple appearances in Superhero Cinema Club. In any event, it's in the office and he's talking about Mystique. She could walk into this office and order a nuclear strike if she were in the mood. Awesome stuff.
More shades of Senator Kelly there.
Yeah.
What's to stop him from walking into a bank vault?
Totally. Exactly. Good stuff. Yeah, Dinklage really brings it here. And now it's time to get into our categories. Starting it off as we always do with best action scenes. Mike, just real quickly wanted to bring up, even before the action starts, which is just 5 minutes into this movie. It's awesome. No waiting around. I really just love the opening of the film. The way that the camera pans through the hollowed out building in New York City, and Professor X's voiceover is there just like the first two films.
Yeah.
Kind of bringing you back into that Bryan Singer X-Men world. I love the little mutant kid who finds the X symbol, and then like on rewatch, I noticed like he sees the X symbol, and then you see the reflection of the Sentinel's face opening up in the center of it.
That's right.
Which is, again, just a cool little visual flourish there. And then it goes into the opening credits, which are again reused from the Bryan Singer originals, but now it's 2014, so the computer graphics are just so much better. Bryan Singer to me is just flexing all over the beginning of this movie, being like, "I'm back, bitches. Look at how good it is." And Mike, I really felt it. I was just like, "Oh, let's go right away."
It's really impressive. The camera does a lot of movement there. There's like the shot of Professor X, and the camera comes out of his eye, and then you see he's in Cerebro, and then you see he's actually on the Blackbird, and that takes off, and it's like one shot. It's really good. All the stuff with New York is really great. We get this dark future of what I think Fox News probably wants us to think New York looks like under Mamdani, and couldn't resist.
That
And
footage was just shot yesterday, actually, in
I
2026, the real
during the
life.
snowstorm, everybody's rounded up in some mutant concentration camps, and no, it's really impressive. It's a great opening, and then we get right into the action, like you said, with the first. I guess this is where we're going. First action set piece: the Sentinel attack against Bishop and Kitty Pryde and crew.
Absolutely. I've subtitled it "Everyone Dies"
Yep.
because everyone dies, Mike. It's a very riveting opening scene. You have Colossus, Sunspot, Blink, Warpath, and Iceman taking on the Sentinels, while Kitty Pryde and Bishop are sneaking off to. It's not really clear at first, and that's part of what's really cool about it. Is like they're just running away, and you got to defend us. First off, I got to say, Bryan Singer, watching a behind the scenes thing, was talking about how they basically are like, which mutant powers are going to be cool, not only cool, but will work interacting with other mutants' powers.
Exactly what we've been talking about.
So I was like, have been driving this point home, and Bryan Singer just confirmed it. And that's exactly what they did. And that is why Blink is so freaking sick in this scene, because not really anyone's top a list of characters you want to see, like, oh, she's got such a rich story, the way that like Wolverine or any of the iconic X-Men do. But she can open up portals, and that allows so many cool film tricks, action tricks. She opens up the portal for Iceman, and he just comes sledding in on his iconic Iceman sled. Like,
I know, it's great.
we've been waiting for this, man, and it's just right there right away. Colossus is a fan favorite. Sunspot, let's just call him Better Pyro, because he actually can create not just flame, but like solar flame. So just straight from the power of the sun itself. I mean, awesome powers. And then Warpath, who probably the least powered amongst these characters, but kind of crafty and has his knives and is good with tactical fighting and kind of their lookout and scout. Just amazing interactions here. And then, Mike, everybody gets killed. Colossus is punched out. Iceman gets his head popped off, which is quite jarring. One of the best shots in the film. Warpath gets thrown off the back of the Sentinel in slow motion. And then Blink opens a portal to get him.
Oh yeah.
Goes through the portal. And then she opens another portal or grabs him. And just as you think they're going to get away, the Sentinel changes its body. I mean, they talked about this on the behind the scenes. This was so tricky to pull off because the camera's showing you all these different things at different angles. Even the first time you watch it, it's a little bit to take in, but go back and rewatch it, and it's the logic and all the angles makes perfect sense. And this is just really high level superhero stuff right here.
It's a lot to take in. If you've ever played the Portal video games, it's a lot taken from that. It kind of feels like,
Yeah.
it's it is a great shot. You're right. It's this amazing slow-mo shot where the Sentinel stabs through the portal closes, he gets his arm cut off, but he did still hit his target and stabbed Warpath. I think it was Warpath, right?
No, it's Blink that gets it on that one.
That was Blank in the back, yeah.
Yep. So they all die. It looks like Kitty and Bishop are about to get it too. And then suddenly they just disappear. And we get into that awesome shot that you were talking about, Mike. Transitions from there into just pulling back into Cerebro, pulling back into Professor X's eye. And then you actually see the Cerebro helmet and keeps pulling back. And then they're on the Blackbird. I mean, this is just awesome. What a flex. This opening scene is just incredible.
The camera's always moving too. I don't know if you noticed that in like every shot basically since the very first shot of the film. So we're not being stagnant. Everything has to feel motion and feel the action here. And it's a great way to start a movie like this.
Absolutely. So our next action scene, it's a little shorter. I'm just going to call it the Mutant Marines. This is the scene when undercover rogue, goes into the tent in Vietnam to get the mutant soldiers out. So who do we have in the tent, Mike? We've got Havoc from X-Men First Class. We've got a new, grosser version of Toad, which I really like the way that they designed his character in this one. I thought it was really awesome. He really looked like a toad, not just kind of a dude that was painted weird colors and. And then we've got Ink. Now, I am not familiar with this guy, but Mike, he has tattoos all over his body, and depending on which tattoo he touches, that's what kind of power he has. So if you notice, he touches a hazmat symbol on his palm, and it makes people puke.
Right.
So his mutant power is to make people violently ill. He just makes people puke.
I mean, I wonder how hard he can make that go. That could be pretty powerful if you're making people throw up their gallbladder or something.
I'm just envisioning like the scene from Stand By Me where it's just everybody's just puking everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
He just goes in and he's just holding his palm up and he's just making everyone puke on everyone else.
Some other guy in the corner pukes and he's like, no, I didn't do that one. That was just chain reaction happening.
The last mutant in the tent is someone that reminded me of Porcupine Guy that you hated so much.
Part 2.
But it's not. It's not. This is Daniels. Now, again, I had to Google this guy to find out who is Daniels, Mike. Do you know what his power is? Because his eyes go dark and people kind of seem affected by it, like he has some kind of telekinesis.
He channels all the powers of every living cactus on the planet. And
well, you could say that he kind of channels powers of cactus and that agave juice can get you drunk and that will make you lose your balance. That's what his power set is, Mike.
Lame.
He makes people lose their balance. Those two are kind of the B team. I did like Toad sticking out his tongue and disarming the guy and like pulling the gun back into his mouth. That was cool. Definitely. And then Havoc kind of shoots him. But it's mostly just Mystique doing a lot of sick capoeira style moves. I love her fighting style in this movie, Mike. Our next big action scene, quick escape. Get it? Quick escape?
I do. It's very clever.
So obviously this is the scene where Magneto is being held under the Pentagon.
So sick. That's such a great idea.
Oh, it's just, they're like, of course you're going to put him in the center of the Pentagon. What did they say, like 100 stories down or something? Just,
yep, floors down.
Just so sick. Plan's going great. Everybody's kind of doing their part. Hank's switching the TVs on and even the sprinkler system with his remote, which is kind of weird. I love the thought that like when Quicksilver holds someone while he's running, he kind of has to support their head and that they get like really queasy afterwards, like immediately.
Whiplash.
So good. Let's talk about this briefly. I definitely think hands down, this is the funniest X-Men movie. The line where he says, I don't know karate, but I do know crazy. This is obviously taken from the James Brown song. That was the one joke where I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit.
We've just heard it so many times before this. Like, here's that.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's what she said joke almost,
Yeah.
We've heard that many, many times. It's played out.
And then, of course, the sort of intimation that perhaps there might be some patronage going on. Oh, my mom knew a guy that used to be able to manipulate metal. Like, oh, wait a minute.
Do you want to get into that now?
Let's talk about it. Sure. So if you don't know at home, canonically in the Marvel comic universe, Magneto is in fact the father of Quicksilver.
And
the Scarlet Witch and Wanda Maximoff. So due to rights issues and whatnot, the MCU had to write these characters in a different way. That's kind of how we end up with two different versions of Quicksilver to begin with. I'm going to say it here, like, I think this version of Quicksilver blows Aaron Taylor Johnson out of the water entirely.
100%. He's way better. It's just because of how much of a better actor he is.
Evan Peters is just cooking in this role. He really perfect casting for a spastic, hyperactive teenager. I also really like his costume design.
The goggles are a nice touch.
Yeah, the costume designer mentioned that like she was actually trying to make him look like he was in the 80s. Like he was so fast that he's literally ahead of the fashion curve too, which I thought was kind of a mission accomplished with that look as well.
I love his performance. And there's just like this one little line where he's talking to Magneto and he's like, you must have done something pretty bad, man. What'd you do? What'd you do? It's just like the way he delivers it is just really funny to me.
Yeah, it's great. He's just such a young little puckish imp, And then we get the kitchen sequence. I don't think it's spoiling anything to say this is like and a legendary, iconic superhero sequence. I know when I walked out of the theater, that was kind of almost the first thing I probably said was just like, can you believe that Quicksilver scene? That was just unbelievable. I mean, it's just a remarkable bit of filmmaking. I think Bryan Singer literally was like, you want that Nightcrawler scene? Like, you thought that was sick? Check this one out.
On crack, yeah.
Yeah. The needle drop with the Time in a Bottle song is just absolutely perfect there. And just the level of detail. Now, this sequence alone took them 7 months to do the visual effects for. And it really shows. It looks amazing. They had a mix of practical sets. So, like, they actually did have a lot of the pots and pans hooked up to wires. So when Magneto pulls them up and then time freezes, some of those are a mix. So it's kind of a mix of CGI. They added all the rain in post. They got the effect on Evan Peters' face by shooting him in super slow motion while blasting him with air. His like cheek ripples are real. Again, this is just super high level stuff. The way that he's setting everyone up in these various ways, moves the bullets, and time goes back normal, and boom, 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 one after another, everything falls into place in this overhead shot. Just magnificent. Absolutely magnificent.
You've said it all. Excellent summation. It's a great scene.
Before we get into our next action scene, I want to bring up a somewhat tossed off bit of dialogue that I've got a question for you about. Save the I've got questions for later. But Magneto did not, in fact, murder JFK by bending the bullet, which is a really clever way of like incorporating actual historical fact into X-Men universe.
Yeah.
But he was trying to save John F. Kennedy because he himself was a mutant, Mike.
That's right.
This is a delicious bit of revisionist history, but it does prompt the question: what were JFK's secret mutant powers?
You son of a bitch. You beat me to it. I was going to save this one for I got questions.
What's your answer to that question?
No, it's okay. The best thing I could come up with was just that his charisma is like through the roof. You know, he can basically just almost mind control people, convince them just by talking to them. They kind of fall under his spell kind of thing, to the point where he can just look in a TV camera and do the same thing to the people watching at home. You know, that's how powerful his power is. That's why all he has to do is just cross his legs and look casual during the debate with Nixon, and he wins the debate. He's amazing.
I love it. I was somewhat similar, but mine was that he has pheromones that make him absolutely irresistible to anyone who's around him. It is like a charisma pheromone. That's his code name, by the way, pheromone. If he was to join the X-Men. As we know, historically, Wipe the Ladies Man.
That's bad.
He was the ladies man.
No, but his code name is just about how he smells.
I mean, generally indetectable. It's like on the conscious level. Pheromones are like subtle, you know? So this dude was bagging Marilyn Monroe in the White House, my guy. He had some kind of magic pheromones going on. That's what JFK's mutant power was. So I'm glad we've settled that. I think we do agree it's somewhere in the enchantment range, right?
We are on the same page for sure.
For sure. Next action scene, terror at the Paris Peace Summit. Mike, another absolute banger. You get this amazing speech by Dinklage. He just barges in on the meeting. He's like, you guys are going to want my Sentinels. I love his swagger in this movie too. He just barges in on all these guys trying to end the Vietnam War and is like, by the way, there's another war coming and get your Sentinels at a discount now.
Right.
The genetic guidance system starts going off, identifying someone in the room as a mutant. Cuts to our Vietnamese general who Jennifer Lawrence had so cleverly seduced the night before. Boom, she just starts doing her awesome Mystique Capoeira, taking everyone out. Love all that. And then, of course, the X-Men barge in. Stryker gets the shock treatment. Wolverine starts to recognize him, and then his brain starts going crazy. So he starts slashing everything in the future and slipping out of the past. I mean, the way that the tension in the scene just continues to escalate and escalate. The bullet bending, he does get it off.
So again, he's the magic bullet. He was trying to curve it. That's what he was talking about.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I think why this scene succeeds so well, and they use it throughout the film, or I guess in this sequence and the next, the cuts to the home footage, the grainy 70s film, is just adds so much to this movie. I think it's such a genius technique in the filmmaking here because it adds a sense of realism. You have people in the crowds are all freaking out. When you see Mystique in blue just popping and Beast just flying out of the window and just starting to attack Magneto and just drowning him in the pool, like when they cut back to the old time footage with that, it just really brings this sense of realism and horror, frankly, because you're just a regular person seeing all these actions unfold at what's supposed to be, a celebratory event to end the Vietnam War. That's where I just think the cinematographer gets a lot of credit. And then as well with John Ottman's score, right? When Magneto comes down and starts pulling Mystique towards him because the bullet's still lodged in her leg, and like the music just turns into this like that dark, like hitting, just kind of monotone sound. I mean, this is cooking stuff. I think it's spectacular and really good filmmaking choices here.
I'm going to go back to the home video Super 8 footage there for a second. I thought that served a really good narrative perspective because in a story about people trying to change history, it's something tangible that we can kind of latch onto that says, no, what's happening right now and the things that they're doing to change the past are becoming history again. It's just kind of making it more real that the things they're doing are actually taking into effect and are going to have consequences down the line.
So well said, dude. And when we think about it too, right? It's the Zapruder film. When we see that kind of grainy footage, our brains go to,
Yes.
oh no, this is like the JFK shot. Like this is, something is going to transpire on this footage that's going to be historic and horrifying. Very well said. Our last big action sequence, the double-sided climax. We're basically getting intercut in between the final Sentinel attack on the X-Men in the future and the Sentinel sabotage of Magneto. I don't know how many more ways I could just keep being like so sick. It's just incredible. This is another just great sequence. The way that it goes back and forth, it just takes a lot of skill to keep the pacing, keep the rhythm going. To be totally honest, the stuff in the future to me is not as compelling as the stuff in the past. Storm's death really does hit because they kind of wrong foot you where Magneto's been caught with shrapnel. So you're kind of thinking about him, and then you just see the Sentinel crawl over the wall and just stab Storm through the stomach. I mean, it is pretty shocking.
Yeah.
Again, I just feel that it doesn't really have the stakes. Everything that they're fighting against now doesn't really matter as long as the mission in the past succeeds.
Right.
The peril isn't there. First off, the Sentinels look amazing from the design standpoint. I think that's really what I would think about in terms of a 70s looking Sentinel. Feels era appropriate as well as comic book appropriate.
The 70s Sentinels definitely look great. The future Sentinels, I have not liked that design since this movie came out. They're very bland because they're all gray, and it's like they have these weird scales, and I get what they can do, but aesthetically it just doesn't serve it. They have these like beady little eyes. I don't know. It's just not a good look for me.
I actually agree with you on that. When they first showed up, it had been so long since I'd seen this movie, I kind of forgot, and I was like, oh yeah, they're just kind of those gloopy mud monster looking things. Right. They got the guy from Prometheus to design them because Bryan Singer was a big fan of those films. At the same time, when their face opens up with the blast, I think that's like legit terrifying. So I think in some ways their blandness kind of works in service of how horrifying it is when their faces open up and they start blasting everything. But certainly I think it's a mixed bag overall with the future Sentinels. We've gone through our action scenes here, Mike. Now you got to give us our favorite. This is really tough, but what's your number one?
No, it's not. It's definitely not tough. It's the Quicksilver scene. Like you said, you leave the theater that day, and that's what sticks out. It's incredible. He steals the show, not just from a comedic performance, as we talked about, but he has the best action scene in the movie. It's incredible. We hadn't seen anything like this since Nightcrawler, and this is done so much better.
I don't disagree. But with that being said, I think it's the Paris Peace Summit one for me. The way that all the different elements are working in complement there, the stakes of the scene itself, and everyone being involved, it just keeps escalating. I love how like Beast is drowning Magneto, and then he just uses a statue to just pin him up.
Yeah.
And then there's a shot of Beast who they really did a much better job with his makeup in this one than I thought in First Class. Like it's like leaps and bounds better. He's just being pinned in the statue, and cameras and all this in his face, everybody filming him, it really conveys that sense of horror that the public has, and he's being looked at and judged and feared. It's his worst nightmare come to life. Again, just dragging Mystique, using the bullet in her leg. Oh, everything about this scene is just sick to me. So I think as much as that one set piece is definitely that's the centerpiece, I think this is the best overall scene. Now, there's a number of really notable non-action scenes in this film as well that I really enjoyed. We'll just run through a few, and if you have anything to add, throw them in there. But
Sure.
get to start with, just the opening kind of explanation following the action sequence where Professor X and everyone comes off the plane. Awesome filmmaking, just like, oh, there's our guys coming back. Love to see him again. I love the way that they explain how the whole system is working, where it's like we project his mind back in the past a couple days to warn us to not go to the place that we're about to go to and not get caught. Now, it is kind of weird because it's like a save button or like a checkpoint in a video game where it's like at some point he's going to die and then everyone's dead forever, which Storm brings up.
Right. She does.
But it is a very clever little scheme. I really like the explanation for it.
They go over it super quickly too, because they know they don't have time to go over it, and they're just like, people have seen time travel movies up to this point. They'll get it. Like, he's going back into his younger self. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
And so they do kind of glass over it, but
well, if you take the time to think about it, it actually does make sense, though, like from a temporal standpoint, that this would actually be a plan that could work. So I really enjoy that scene. And then, I just love when, okay, we decide Wolverine's going to be the one to go back. Professor X, you'll have to do for me what I once did for you. Lead me, guide me. I was a very different man back then. Warning, Logan, you're going to have to be the guy in the role now to step up and be my mentor the way that I mentored you. Great stuff. And then speaking of, he goes to the X-Men school. This is not what we remember, Mike, from the last couple movies, to say the least. I love Hank's outfit in this scene. He just looks super 70s cool. Wolverine looks great too. I love his leather jacket, just his like overall look in this film.
with the long lapels.
Totally. Yeah, everyone's looking awesome. This is just an awesome scene. It's got a lot of jokes and humor. We're going to be good friends. And he just punches him right in his nose, getting into a little bit of a scrap. I love the way that shot of Beast just sneaking up on him and then jumping off the wall and then to the chandelier. Like, really cool practical effects. And then we talked about it last time, Mike, the greatest F-bomb in PG-13 comic book history. And we get a call back here. And I think that cements it, right? That Wolverine's fuck off is better than Guardians of the Galaxy's get in the fucking car. Those are the only examples. The fact that it makes a callback on this in a really emotionally poignant scene.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
And it adds to what's just a throwaway joke in X-Men First Class. If you go back and watch that movie again, you're like, oh, that actually means something later.
Yeah.
The fact that he said that.
Yeah.
So it adds more to it. They did a great job of like making that nice little joke have some more emotional weight.
100%. The next one I want to shout out is just Charles making psychic contact with himself in the future. This is really good stuff. I think this really is where the heart of the film lies. I think this is where you really get the overall themes of the film itself. I'll talk about those later. I really like this scene. And then you get some puns at the end, but I didn't mind it. Find what you were looking for.
Sure.
The power's back on. Yes, it is. But yeah, good, really good stuff. And then lastly, just the kind of the post-battle denouement, if you will. He wakes up to First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, which is the same song he woke up to next to the girl in bed who he'd never seen before. So
yeah, good call.
Much like Time in a Bottle, on the nose music cue, but also very appropriate. Won the Song of the Year in 1973, so was a big hit at the time. And you kind of see, oh, it's literally like it feels like a Back to the Future ending. I put everything back in place. Everything has turned out more awesome than ever before.
We've undone the events of X3.
Exactly. The events of X-Men : The Last Stand never took place. It's a good one. And, pulling Wolverine out of the river, too, is just a cool little stinger at the end of the film. I also just thought, too, like, just the idea of, like, you have Wolverine who already has memory issues. So presumably, when he does get fished out, he doesn't remember anything that just happened to him over the last 3 days because it was his future self inhabiting his mind. And then that Wolverine lives his life and then comes back into that body at that moment
Yes.
with the old 60s or 70s Wolverine's memory. And he's like, you got to explain the gap to me. Cool. This is cool. Time travel. I love time travel films. As you know, Back to the Future is my favorite film of all time. It was just a cool ripple of how this would all work logistically. And again, it really helps to have a psychic that can literally just be like, you want to remember what everything that happened to your life? Like,
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Charles Xavier can
What's
certainly
the
help.
last thing you remember? Let me
Totally.
fill in the gaps for you.
Totally. So, all right, Mike, what was your favorite of those scenes?
I'm actually going to go with a different one than you mentioned. There's a
Oh,
really
okay.
good scene where Professor X and Magneto are on the jet heading to DC, I think. Or no, heading away from DC because this is right after they rescued him. They're having a very compelling conversation about, well, where were you? You abandoned me. I just think that everybody's acting in that scene is really good. You get this really nice shot of the jet that they're in. When Magneto gets upset, he starts crushing the fuselage with his power, and like the jet starts going down. So you start seeing all the things in the cabin are flying around, and Professor X can't even hang on to the seat that he's sitting in, but Magneto's just like still perfectly upright within the cabin of the plane. That was really impressive filmmaking for something that could have just been a very simple back and forth dialogue piece of conversation, but they were able to make so much more out of it that it just really escalated that part of the film.
Yeah, great scene. You abandoned us. You
Yeah.
abandoned us all. Yeah.
You've abandoned my boy.
Yeah. I love Wolverine's first appearance back in Professor X Mansion. Get really good stuff with Beast. Like I said, some good jokes in this scene, and then, the callback to the F off. And then, I mean, it's not even like subliminal. It's like he's now a junkie. He's straight up tying a belt around his arm, pulling out a needle. Like,
He's mainlining that spinal surgery fluid.
exactly. He's just like, all right, let's do it again, jamming it into his arm. So I think that scene kind of has so many different elements. And as we've kind of discussed, this movie does a good job of balancing. It's both funny and compelling and heartfelt, and there's a little bit of action. It just, I think, is kind of encapsulates all that's good about this film in that one. So
I think it'd be fun to see Professor X as like Tyrone Biggums going up to Beast and being like, "Y'all got any more of that serum for me?
give me that serum. I need it. Just scratching. Let's talk a bit about the Rogue Cut. For those that maybe watch it on Disney Plus, it's not available there. You have to rent it or get the Rogue Cut DVD or Blu-ray. Mike, did you watch it?
I didn't watch it in preparation for this, but I have seen it before, so I kind of remember what happens. Go ahead, go tell us about it.
Yeah, basically, as you might have guessed by the name, this version incorporates Rogue into the story. And essentially what happens is after Kitty gets slashed and is struggling to kind of maintain the psychic bond between her and Wolverine, Iceman, who's her boyfriend, is like, hey, they're holding Rogue at actually Xavier's mansion and doing experiments on her. We should go get her because she can take over basically, from Kitty Pryde because she can absorb her powers, and then she can kind of finish the job and let Kitty, get some rest. Charles, Iceman, and Magneto go back to the X Mansion. It's basically intercutting the scenes where Magneto and Iceman are going to get Rogue with the scene where Magneto in the past is getting his uniform out of the CIA headquarters, knocks the guys out with the ball bearings. So kind of cool back and forth editing there. Of course, after they get Rogue out, Sentinels attack. Bobby builds his ice walls and sacrifices himself. There's actually kind of a horrifying shot of him just getting melted, and like his arms are basically become little twigs, like they're just melting him. There's flames.
Serves you right for not saving us at the end of X2.
Exactly. Thank you. So they then go back, and obviously Kitty is now really distraught from losing her boyfriend. Rogue takes over at the end. So it kind of tweaks the ending a little bit. And it also introduces a few scenes with Raven. So basically, Raven does end up coming back to the X Mansion, and she and Hank kind of start making out, and he transforms into Beast because he gets worked up. And he says, "If I get worked up, I turn into the Beast."
I would do it.
So yeah, Raven comes back, hooks up with Hank, and then she trashes Cerebro so that Charles can't find her. That was her secret ulterior motive for coming back the whole time. All in all, I would say it's fine. I did feel that Charles and Magneto are a bit underused in the future. That it would have been nice to have a little more for both of them to do in those scenes. So this does give them a little bit of extra importance on their characters. But at the same time, I think the pacing for this movie is exceptional, and everything moves very quickly, and it does kind of slow it down overall. If you want to see it, check it out. It's about 15 minutes of extra footage, but I wouldn't say it's, wow, it kind of totally changes the movie the way that, for instance, the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 is just makes it a very, very different film. So, check out, maybe just watch the scenes on YouTube. I would say that'll probably do the trick.
That'd be my recommendation too. Yeah, it doesn't really add anything to the movie itself. Honestly, if it was in there, I probably would have come out of the theater thinking like they probably could have cut some stuff here. So yeah, it doesn't really serve the story for this movie that well. So, but it's got some fun action. So you could, yeah, just check it out on YouTube. Don't have to watch the whole 2.5 hour cut for it.
There you go. All right, next category, Mike. Let's talk about total destruction. This is the number of deaths in the mill. This is a real tough one this week because I got about 12 deaths. Actually, not quite 12 on screen. I think approximately maybe about 6 to 7. But you see them die multiple times. Like Iceman gets killed multiple times in this movie. Link and Warpath gets his face blown off directly in the flame of the Destroyer Sentinels, because they look like Destroyer, by the way. But they're not permanent deaths, so you can't really count them. So by my estimation, there's only approximately 6 actual permanent deaths in this film. So number one, when Logan first goes back in time, he's with the chick, the 3 henchmen show up, and he kind of goes berserker. It looks like one of the guys, he just breaks his arm. One of the guys, he jabs in the gut. And the last guy, he kind of gets in the shoulder. I'm thinking the guy in the gut definitely died from his injuries.
I think nobody dies in this scene, and it's because he specifically says, you don't want to do
You're
that.
going to wake up in the hospital.
You're going to wake up in the hospital. So he knows what he's doing at this point, and he knows that he's not taking lives. He's just taking guys out of the action, basically.
Yeah. As much as he is well-intentioned in that, when you stick your bone claws into a dude's gut, I think he's going to bleed out on the way to the hospital. That's just my hypothesis.
I'll give you that one because Logan may not have known that, like, oh, I accidentally nicked your liver, so you're going to die in 2 weeks from internal bleeding.
Exactly. Slow, painful death, as we learned from Reservoir Dogs. And then I have to assume that there's probably 5-ish victims between the Sentinel shooting spree and then the stadium getting dropped around the White House. It's interesting because there actually is a newspaper headline that you can pause and freeze frame. And it's like, mutants save the president, and like Bolivar Task arrested for selling state secrets, and, kind of gives you a quick, happily ever after there. So you'd think it would be like 5 dead from mutant attack, but the president saved would be the headline, as opposed to like nothing but heroism. So maybe no one died there, but I just have a hard time believing that those Sentinels putting their weaponry on full blast into a crowded event. I got to assume at least 4 casualties from that, plus dropping a stadium around someone. Just, I don't know.
The Sentinels definitely killed somebody there for sure. Like Magneto tells them, do what you were made for, and turns them on the crowd.
Exactly.
But I think, are we going to count when Mystique is looking at the files in Trask's office and she sees Zoe Kravitz's character and Azazel and all these other few characters that died off screen between events here?
That's a good point. Yeah, we can count them. I mean, they do get killed, and we get confirmation of their deaths. So I guess overall, maybe about 9 or 10. But it's just an odd one because, like I said, so many people die in
and then come back
graphic fashion relatively.
So do you count Iceman 3 times?
Exactly, exactly. So, next category, evil scheme. So, we talked a little bit about the time travel scheme, very clever stuff there. But overall, yeah, just this is really good. I really thought the quote unquote evil schemes here. I guess the first evil scheme would be Boulevard Trask using the Sentinels to take out mutant kind, which works perfectly. So that works a little too well, frankly. But then Magneto's scheme to kill Raven himself so that she can't be used in experiments. Great twist. You don't really see it coming. He's full of these little quick little backstabby things. And then that's not even enough. He's like, I'm going to just lace these sentinels with metal and turn them against the humans and take out the leadership myself. I don't need Raven to do it. I'm going to be the one to do it. Great scheming here, Magneto. You are really, I want to like you, bro. I really want to like you. And then you do stuff like this, and I'm like, you are actually kind of a bad guy.
He's a double crosser for sure. He's a backstabber.
Yeah. He's always double crossing. He always knows what's right. You know, Magneto is certain in his beliefs, and people that are certain in their beliefs and that have that kind of, I'm always the right one. You got to be careful of those kind of people, honestly.
I'm careful with you.
Hey, come on now. Opinions about comic book films are not the same, Mike, and you know it. You know it. Let's talk briefly about secret layers and costumes. So, I absolutely love the secret layer in the future. I think it is such a cool set. I love the colored glass that they're behind. I love that it's hidden in like a secret fortress on the side of a mountain with all this cool like Indian and Eastern Chinese like iconography, and that is just such a sick secret layer. I loved it.
It's great aesthetics. It's great set building. My question though is, if we have stained glass windows everywhere, why do we need Magneto to barricade the front door from the Sentinels?
Pretty good point. The glass you would think would be the way to go in if you're a Sentinel. Just take out the glass as opposed to the metal door. Yeah, fair point. But it looks cool,
Oh,
so
it does. It looks
that
amazing.
counts.
Yeah, for sure. This is great set design. The stained glass windowing does present some really, really pretty lighting in the scenes. So
The lighting in this movie overall is just amazing. Like the use of light and the different shadows, the different camera lenses that they use. Like when Charles visits himself in the future and they have that conversation, it's in that like diffuse,
yes,
just looks awesome. I mean, really just excellent, excellent job from Newton Thomas Siegel on the cinematography here. Great stuff. The other shout out I want to give is Magneto's outfit in the climax when he comes to do his dastardly deeds, and he's gone full villain mode,
oh
just
yes,
ripping RFK Stadium out of the ground. Really awesome stuff. So this is the RFK Stadium Award for coolest casual power flex in the film. Magneto can just rip a stadium out of the ground and lift it in the air to drop as a ring around the White House. How sick is that?
this is the Magneto I was talking about since episode 1, where I've seen all the other cool things that Magneto can do, and this is like height of his power. I'm ripping an entire like 20,000 seat capacity building from its roots and doing what I please with it. This is amazing.
And it's so much cooler. The Golden Gate Bridge thing we talked about as being one of the rare cool things in X-Men The Last Stand. This is like orders of magnitude cooler because he uses it too in just such a clever way of just like, well, you're barricaded in here now. Good luck getting out of this. Like, awesome stuff. Other cool casual power flexes throughout the film. I love how Mystique can just disappear into a crowd by just shifting into just a rando. You're like, is that a blue woman? And then do a double take, and it's like, nah, I guess my mind was just playing tricks on me. Like, what a cool ability. Magneto sewing up the wound in the back of his head just with his own power. That is so sick. Let's go, Magneto. Speaking of Magneto, just pulling up the train tracks to use to lace the Sentinel metal. Another just sick power flex of just like, oh, this will work. It's kind of already stripped up, and layer it down, and there we go. Charles speaking to Raven through the passengers at the airline terminal. What an absolute god level flex there. Just, I can have a conversation with you through the corporeal forms of these random passersby. You can't escape talking to me because every person you bump into, I'm going to take their mind and start chatting with you.
He even says, he's like, don't bother me, this is really difficult and I'm not even full powered yet, basically. So he's like at a fraction of his what he could be doing.
Totally. And this is kind of a smaller one, but still very useful. they go to the event and they go through the metal detector. Good joke there with Wolverine being like, "Oh yeah, I can pass through." But Charles just being like, he's like, "I need to see your invitations." He's like, Jedi mind tricks him.
Yeah, exactly. These aren't the joys you're looking for. Yeah.
Exactly. Just like you can get in anywhere by being like, "Yeah, no, we're good. We're fine. Okay, go ahead." Awesome casual power flexes in this movie.
I will say we have a power degrade though.
Okay, let's go with that.
It's Wolverine, man. You lose the metal claws and go down to just the bone. That's not as cool. I'm sorry. You don't have the adamantium skeleton anymore. You're not as powered.
Yeah, that's a fair point. He definitely is not as powered, but he also is intentionally avoiding conflict in this movie. He doesn't really get messed up as much as he does in some of the other films, so that's kind of the trade-off there, but that's a good call out. Speaking of, let's get into our best and worst mutant categories. I'll kick us off with the best mutant. This is a really tough one in this movie, Mike. I've got a number of honorable mentions I want to throw out there first. Young Professor X being the first one. McAvoy, I think, does an awesome job of showing how tormented and anguished he is. I think you go like, well, would you trade the ability to walk for psychic powers? Like most of us would be like, I'll take psychic powers. That sounds cool. But like, you really genuinely feel the struggle for him in this movie. I think Beast is amazing in this movie. Like I said, I think he looks so much better than he did in the other ones. And it's more of a werewolf thing where he can kind of turn it on and off, which is kind of cool. I like the scene too where the Sentinel's about to attack him and he just jabs himself with all the serum and then it's, oh, there's no threat here. Never mind. You're back to normal.
Oh, is that what he was doing? I had a hard time following that. Okay.
Yeah,
He was trying to make him mask himself as human to the Sentinel.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he jabs like 4 of them into his arms. So he's just like back to normal.
I thought he was like, yeah, Professor X, let's hit some more of that serum.
Jennifer Lawrence is just so much better in this movie than the first one. I mean, her character is really just much more complex, has so much more to do. You know, in the comics, it's interesting because Mystique is the one who does assassinate. In the comic, it's Senator Kelly, but it's Mystique. It's not Magneto. He has nothing to do in the original Days of Future Past storyline, at least in back in time.
Isn't it Bishop? That's the way I always remembered it. Or is that just from the cartoon?
Yeah, that's the cartoon. The actual original storyline, because I read it, it's only 2 comics, so it's actually really pretty brief. But Kitty has just joined the X-Men. Cyclops has just walked away following Jean Grey's death. So the X-Men team at the time is Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, Kitty, and Angel.
I was gonna say Colossus because usually he goes along with Kitty.
And Colossus is in there too. Yeah, there's no Cyclops, there's no Magneto back in that period, at least involved in the older times. And it's Mystique gets the Blob. Who else? A couple other, the new reformed Brotherhood of Evil Mutants to try to take out Senator Kelly, and of course the X-Men stop him. So it's a really short arc, but it is Mystique who's behind kind of setting these events in motions canonically in the comics too. So it's just cool that they were able to follow that in the film with Jennifer Lawrence's character, who I thought was just a lot better in this one than the last one. With those honorable mentions out of the way, I'm going to award Best Mutant of X-Men Days of Future Past to Wolverine. I think he's the heart of this movie. He's the anchor of this movie. His character is the one that's traversing between the various time periods. Hugh Jackman, he just looks amazing. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I'm not, trying to make any insinuations. I'm a straight guy. It's okay. Everyone who's not, all good. But dude is hot as shit in this movie, Mike. That opening scene, he just is ripped. He looks so finally like he's really gotten jacked, gotten into good shape, and just looks like Wolverine should. He provides a lot of the comic relief. I love the inversion of his dynamic with Professor X and that he has to be the mentor now. He's, like I said, the heart of the movie. And then it was really shocking. And actually, I didn't like it at the time, but on rewatch, I appreciated it much more. Magneto just driving him with rebar through his whole body and then hurling
disgusting.
him into the Potomac River.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you're like taking Wolverine intentionally out of the climax of your film. Like, what are you doing there? That was my initial response. But on rewatch, it doesn't fit with the theme, actually. And it's really kind of cool the way that you so expect Wolverine to be the guy that's there in the big moment at the end of the movie that it's so shocking that he just gets thrown into a river to drown. It's upsetting. It's surprising. Really cool way to kind of end his storyline. Like, you're not a part of this, bro. Like, you're out of here. Wolverine gets my award for the best mutant of X-Men Days of Future Past. Mike, who do you got?
I'm surprised to hear you say that because, like you said too, he kind of takes a back seat. You know, he's intentionally avoiding conflicts because he doesn't want to snap back in a moment of rage to the future. So we don't get a lot of Wolverine in this movie. I feel like you get the one scene where he kills all the mobsters and he gets the really nice shot of the bullets coming out of his chest and you hear him plinking on the floor. That's kind of it from an action standpoint for him, though, isn't it?
It is. I mean, he doesn't do as much for sure in terms of action, but again, he's kind of the heart of the movie and he's the
Yes.
comic relief of the movie. I mean, the line where he's like, "Oh, you get all three, do you?" And he's like, "And PBS."
Oh yeah, yeah.
That cracked me up. Best joke of the movie. So yeah, he gets the good jokes, he gets the good heart, and I thought he did a great job in this.
Well, for me, I'm going with Quicksilver. He's awesome. He shows up and just immediately brings a smile to your face and makes you laugh. And then he's kind of breaks the movie with how powerful he is. You know, you could literally solve any of problem that you have for the rest of the movie if you just brought him along with you. Okay, Magneto's pointing guns at the president. All right, I'm just going to slow down time. No problem. I'll take care of it. Anybody's shooting a gun, he can take care of that. No problem. Anybody uses a power, it's like he breaks the movie. That's how strong this character is, actually.
That's a really good point. That power set is low key like the most powerful power set.
It's so powerful that they realized, oh, wait a minute. We can't have this character in the rest of the movie, so we're just going to leave him behind. Good luck to you, kid. We'll see you in 30 years. Like,
I mean, to be fair, you know, he is an impetuous teenager, so like he could just get distracted and run
that's
off
fair.
anywhere.
It's totally fair.
You know, it might be throwing him in the middle, but you're not wrong to observe that his powers are. You don't really think of speedsters as being like the most powerful, but the way they demonstrate it in this movie, they really are. You know, they have quite the power set. So
His scene is the best. He steals the show in many ways. So he's my favorite mutant of the movie.
let's go. For worst mutant, I think everyone does a really good job in this film. So I'm just going to say it's Daniels.
Is that Porcupine Boy?
Porcupine Boy.
All right.
You can make people puke. That's pretty cool, I guess, and maybe even useful. Gross power set, but somewhat useful. You can kind of make people off balance. Like, what? You're going to go to the skyscraper live and make the dude fall off the building with your mutant powers and like, oh, that'll teach him to try to climb buildings. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in a motorcycle rally.
Meet me at the top.
Yeah, exactly. I'll race you up this mountain. Oh, wait, you can't because you're clumsy all of a sudden. Like, get out of here, Daniels.
He does a great job at impeding inner ear balance or something.
You want to get on that plane? Oh, you don't like it when you land and your ears are all messed up.
Mine is Spiky Boy. I don't even care about him being messing up people's eardrums. Like, he's just so stupid to look at. Again, anybody with spikes all over their body, whether
Yeah.
you're Ken Luong or this character,
Yeah,
it's stupid.
totally.
There's no reason for it.
It's not great. This is a perfect segue, Mike, into what a lot of people call their favorite section of our show, the section we call I've Got Questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Questions. Questions that need answering.
Too many questions. There's too many questions. There's just too many. I'll ask the questions.
All right, Mike, let's get into it. I'll kick us off. A little bit pedantic, but are we sure like Hank just made a miracle drug that can fix spinal cord injuries?
Oh, you took it from me. Damn it.
I mean, what is this drug exactly? And it also disguises mutant abilities. It's just weird. I didn't think his paralysis had anything to do with his mutant ability.
I don't get it either because we talked about it in first class, but his paralysis is a result of a gunshot that nicked his spine. I don't know of a cure of any kind in any chemistry science at all that would only temporarily repair
A spinal injury like that.
or
Yeah.
any kind. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
but then what? He stops taking it, so the repair just detaches and he becomes paralyzed again. And then, but you got your powers back. That's a weird side
Yeah.
effect. This is a stupid drug. I don't know. This part doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it butts real close to this. Like, this is just a miracle panacea drug. Give it to
Yes.
someone that's sick and they're cured, and just it seems like the invention of a lifetime, frankly. So I don't know, just using on Professor X so he can just keep boozing all the time and shoot himself up. Weird stuff. What's your first one?
Well, you've taken two from me already. JFK's powers, what are they? And then now this one. So I'm a little handicapped going into this category right now. But so at the end of the movie, we see a fishing boat recover Wolverine. Oh, hey, guess what? Colonel Stryker's actually there too. And he's like, he's coming with me. But then the eyes flash and it's not Colonel Stryker, it's Mystique. Why have that added layer to this scene? This could have been a perfect setup into the Weapon X story of, oh, this is where Stryker found Wolverine. His memories are all fucked up right now because of the events of this movie. This would just lead into the events that make up Logan's past. So why make it Mystique? That makes it worse.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. They had a chance to kind of have a seamless continuity there. And instead they had to go for like the one extra bit of cleverness of like, well, but it actually wasn't him. So then what? Like there's all these like secret Mystique and Wolverine adventures that we don't know about because just the two of them went off. Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a good question. All right, this is more esoteric, but why do the soldiers just immediately start saluting the Sentinels as if they're their superior officers as soon as they're booted up? They're just like, oh, excuse me, sir, robot.
Yeah.
Hats off to you.
That one definitely gave me a laugh.
What are we doing? I don't think that's how the chain of command works, soldier. If I was his commanding officer, I'd be like, sit your ass down. You don't salute robots. Not in this America.
No,
I'll have to salute them enough someday, but for now.
That was really good.
All right, what's your next one?
So wouldn't it make more sense for them to have the Sentinels have the power to absorb what's happening to them, right? They're being attacked by Iceman's ice. Oh, we'll just turn into molten lava to counteract that. You know, they've got all these powers kind of embedded in their own DNA. Wouldn't it make more sense for them to get their powers from Rogue and her DNA rather than Mystique's? Like, I know Mystique is important and Jennifer Lawrence has become a huge star at this point thanks to the Hunger Game movies, but that always kind of scratched me the wrong way. You know, it's like this doesn't quite make sense for it to be Mystique to be the catalyst of the story.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And, you know, in the Rogue cut, they're like, oh, they're doing experiments on Rogue. So then you can maybe say, oh, they have the ability to adapt based on the research they're doing on Rogue combined with the shape-shifting ability of Mystique. But it's a totally valid point. And on a similar note, how can Kitty Pryde be the one that sends people's minds back in time? She has a very distinct power set. She can phase through solid matter. That would be like a telepathic type ability to send people back in time. Now, again, I understand the comics are different. She's the one getting sent back in time from Rachel Summers, who is Cyclops and Jean Grey's daughter, and you don't even have that character yet. So, like, I get it, but it just felt kind of like, we sure that she could do this power also? That's another thing she can do? It's just doesn't seem related power set.
I felt like they were counting on the audience's like ignorance of the character in a way to be like, people won't question that too much. We've seen her go through walls, but people don't really know what she can do.
Totally. All right, my next one is, so the Redskins now just have to play football at the White House. They're just like, our new stadium is the White House grounds because the roof has been ripped off. Like, how does that work for their football season? I mean, that's a tough break.
You know, that's just a precursor to having MMA fights on the White House lawn. Like,
Trump's gonna like be like, get me Magneto to pull off this old stadium and we can have seating all around. I sound like Dr.
He turned German. Wow.
Yeah, that was, imagine that. That was a weird, how could that happen? All right, I got just a couple more little ones, if I may. They're going to reactivate Cerebro, and Wolverine's like, when's the last time you were down here? And Charles is like, it was a lifetime ago. The halls look amazing. Everything is shiny and clean. So you're sending the maid down to clean the hallway in Cerebro, but you just never go down there yourself? Because, like, it's clean. He blows the dust off the helmet itself, and the panel's looking a little old and dusty, but, like, the hallway leading to it, immaculate. I just was kind of like, okay, And I guess you're like kind of an asshole. You're the guy that's like, I don't care if I never use that room. You're going to clean every inch of this house. That's what I pay you for.
Beast, you're the only other person here.
That's true. It is Beast's job. It's not a maid. And then the last one. So Magneto's given his big speech about, mutant solidarity and we're never going to be oppressed again. And it kind of cuts to all these other mutants. And so we see Havoc, we see Ink again, and we see Toad working as a line cook. Mike, what restaurant is hiring that guy to touch the food, to be the guy that is cooking the food? I'm trying to avoid that restaurant no matter what. I'm getting on Yelp and I'm being like, yo, I just had lunch at the diner outside of New York City. The cook looked like he had grayscale or some horrifying leprosy or something. Like, I don't know if I should eat there. You have a lot of different career opportunities, bro. I'm not sure food service is the one you should be pursuing. So, all right, Mike, it's time to get philosophical and discuss what is this film really about. I think this one was like one of the more easier to decipher thematically films, and to me it's really blatant. It's about redemption, that it's never too late to change our future, be it personally or on a more global scale. There's a number of pieces of dialogue throughout the film that allude to this. At one point, I think actually Wolverine says to Charles, we've been given a second chance to define who we are. Well, he's all junkied up, and you could extend this metaphor all the way to drug addiction specifically, since Charles is clearly drug-addled. Did you lose your way while I was gone? Are you Charles's Raven or are you Mystique? That's Magneto trying to put the pressure on Raven to be the kind of person he wants her to be. And then, of course, Charles saying, you have to come home. And she's like, you haven't changed, Charles. So this leads us to suggest that one of the underlying themes here is that people have to be willing to change before it can happen. You have to accept people for who they are, and people themselves have to be wanting to make that meaningful change, even when they know things are bad. You think about it, right? Someone who's a drug addict, right, or has severe alcoholism, they know that their future is bad, but they still will not reverse it. On a crash course, you know that this is coming, but you still can't do it. It's because we all have to embrace our own inner strength and our hope. Of course, the line that pops up multiple times is reiterated. Just because someone stumbles and loses their way, it doesn't mean they're lost forever. Sometimes we all need a little help. This suggesting, which is true, it's one thing to be misled for a short time, but you can always find your way back to the path, and you're going to need help to do it. You have to be willing to change, and you need a support group to help you get you back on your path. And I'll just leave you with this long bit of dialogue, which I found really poignant. Props to you, Simon Kinberg. I really thought this exchange was beautiful. Charles is talking to future Charles, and future Charles tells him, it's not their pain you're afraid of. It's yours, Charles. And as frightening as it may be, that pain will make you stronger. If you feel it, embrace it, it will make you more powerful than you ever imagined. It's the greatest gift we have to bear their pain without breaking, and it's born from the most human power. Hope. Please, Charles, we need you to hope again. Beautiful stuff from Simon Kinberg, beautiful themes, and I really like the way this idea of redemption is scaled both globally in terms of the entire world they're trying to save, as well as on personal levels of Charles getting his life back together, Magneto, even to a certain extent, getting his life together, and then Raven leaning into the choice. Charles is not going to take over her mind and hold her finger from pulling the trigger. She's got to make that decision on her own. Really, really good thematic stuff here.
That was beautiful, Mark. Well said.
Thank you, Mike.
I had a different read on this movie, if I may.
Yeah, please.
So this movie came out in 2014. I don't know what you would call 2014 as an era like before Donald Trump and before MAGA, but I'm going to go ahead and say that this movie is that version of MAGA's and like dark money, like all the billionaires controlling things on the back end. This is all of their combined attempts to recreate the perfect film that was Terminator 2.
All right, let's go.
So we have a character sent back in time to stop a global apocalyptic war who, when he arrives, is naked, but he is also living flesh surrounding a metal skeleton. And
Okay.
The results of his adventures culminate in the saving of Richard Nixon's life. Longtime right-wing hero Richard Nixon. This movie was also spearheaded by what we now know is someone who may as well be in the Epstein files, but
Wow.
so he's kind of their champion to create this right-wing propaganda dark money movie. And
Boy, you're cooking here, Mike. I gotta say.
so so I think that, you know, we've got Terminator 2 kind of trying to be reborn here in a way under a much bleaker funding source. I'm kidding, of course, about all this. I don't actually believe any of this shit, but
Is it the possibilities of human redemption, the capacity for hope and good and grace even to see change through, or is it just MAGA propaganda that's pushing the right-wing agenda as made by strongly suspicious underage sex perverts? You be the judge. Let us know in the comments, folks. Thank you. And now it's time for our final category. Thank God, probably. We've reached the final verdict. Mike, I'd like it for you to kick us off. What is your final verdict? We grade on a scale of classic, great, good, okay, bad, and terrible. Mike, what do you got?
this is a great movie. This is probably my favorite X-Men movie. I think it actually does outrank X2, especially on this recent rewatch we've been doing. Like I said, X2 kind of drags at the end. It kind of gets boring, and it's like, well, I don't need a lot of this stuff here. This movie never drags. It's great from start to finish. There's a lot of great lines. There's a lot of great shots. There's a lot of great action. It's everything you want. Is it classic? Man, I struggle to quite put it there, but I honestly don't know what else I'd put above it in terms of maybe Dark Knight, you know, something like that. But this is great. This is just a great movie. I love it.
Wow. Mike, once again, your inability to just reach up and go for that highest rung and call something a classic. It's astonishing to me, my friend. It's good.
We're going to get there.
Okay, we dubbed Superman a classic.
Yes, we did.
But you only have one classic. I'm working on multiple classics at this point. I might have the opposite problem of you, where I'm just throwing that term around a little too
You got to
loosely.
earn
Guess
it,
what,
man.
buddy?
You got to earn my love.
I'm throwing it around again. This bad boy's a classic. Pew, 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 pew. I mean that sincerely. I kind of in my mind going into this was like, yeah, this is great. It's probably going to be in the great category. And just rewatching it, I was like, this is unbelievable. This is, you said it. It's everything you want in a comic book movie. It's got great themes. It's got great acting. It's got great heart. I do think on rewatch, this is the best X-Men movie. The writing, as we discussed, was great. The acting in this film is super strong. As pervy and weird as he is, Bryan Singer is just a phenomenal superhero director, and the action delivers on all levels. This is a superhero classic, Mike.
You may be right.
You'll have another opportunity at the end of the season to revise. So when we go into our
right.
rankings for the entire series. So our final category before we get out of here, we like to recommend a comic book and a film based on the source material. So I'll kick us off talking about comic books. As I mentioned, Mike did a lot of Days of Future Past reading over the last couple of weeks, going back to not only the original comic, but a couple different spinoffs. So one of those is Days of Future Past Wolverine. This came out in the late 90s. So, of course, Jubilee is a big part of the story. The basic plot is that she and Magneto rescue Wolverine from Moscow, and they all team up to save the Scarlet Witch from being tortured at the Hoover Dam by Sebastian Shaw and none other than Psylocke, who's assumed the title of the Red Queen. It's got some pretty cool remixing of different characters and, yeah, the Magneto team up at the end and different stuff. It's definitely a cool read. I really enjoyed it. I also read Days of Future Past Doomsday. This one was fairly recently released, I think 2023. Interesting thing about this one is that it basically fills in the blanks from the time when the Days of Future Past original comic took place in 1981, I believe. The Sentinel-ridden future, so it basically just shows how the world completely fell apart. It's pretty cool because basically anti-mutant sentiment starts to spread to just anti-superpower sentiment. Spider-Man gets beat to death by an angry mob at one point, and just a cool kind of fill in the gaps between Days of Future Past original and the setting in the future. Quick, again, like 4 issues, I think. Cool little books to read to fill in the blanks on Days of Future Past. Mike, you got a comic recommendation for us?
I do. I haven't read either of those, so definitely going to check those out. We saw Wolverine time travel in this movie, and as you mentioned, it's not actually him in the comic, but there is a comic where he does time travel, which is none other than the what is now pretty well known Age of Ultron. So in that comic, Wolverine goes back into the past to try and stop Tony Stark's AI from ruining the world, basically. What's interesting is that this actually came out like the year before this movie. So we just got a glimpse of Wolverine time traveling, and then all of a sudden we see it on screen like very closely after that. So it's pretty good. It's Brian Michael Bendis. Like I said, it came out in 2013. The art's really good in it, and it's a quick read and it's pretty fun. So Age of Ultron, that's my pick.
Nice. Yeah, I've never actually read that book, so I'll definitely have to check it out. That sounds cool. That's not at all like the Age of the Ultron film. As far as my film recommendation, I almost felt like it was like almost like paralysis because there's so many people in these movies and they've all been in so many good films.
Yep.
It was like hard to pick. I honestly kind of, I don't want to say choked, but I ended up making somewhat of an odd choice, and that is Atomic Blonde. This is a film with Charlize Theron in the main role and James McAvoy as a spy. I'm not going to lie, Mike. I thought the plot was like really confusing in this movie, and I kind of had a hard time keeping up. Charlize also kind of speaks with sort of a bad British accent, which is weird because she's South African, and so her like voice was a little distracting to me. But it definitely has a number of things going for it. The top of the line is that David Leitch is the director, and he is, I think, an amazing action director. He worked on the first John Wick film, has done a number of movies. He was actually the second unit director on The Wolverine and a few other comic book movies. He just has such a distinct action style. I think it's been hugely influential. If you're a big fan of John Wick, you'll definitely like this movie. The action scenes are super awesome. I also really like the lighting and the color scheme in this movie. Like everything is kind of blown out in fluorescent colors at all times, different lighting techniques. It just looks really cool and stylish. And then the music is great. There's just a bunch of needle drops from the 1980s when it's set. It's just a fun time. McAvoy is really having a blast. You can tell he's just playing the skeezy spy that's just cynical and kind of over everything. Really fun performance from McAvoy. So that's my recommendation, Atomic Blonde. What do you got?
It's not bad. It came out around that same time when like well-known actors were given properties to go kick ass, like Taken and John Wick and everything like that. So everybody kind of there's a lot of these movies coming out at this time and just kind of fell into that mold.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you picked that because of McAvoy, because I also went the McAvoy route, and there's a lot of different ways you can go with him. You can go Narnia, you could go Wanted, which is decent, but I went non-action with him. And I went with a movie called Atonement from 2007. Have you seen Atonement?
Mike, I've been meaning to watch Atonement for like 20 years now.
I've never
haven't seen it.
Oh my
No,
God.
I've still not seen it. No.
All right. Well, I don't want to give anything away then for you specifically. But what I will say is that it's kind of like a POV movie where you're given different examples of possibly what's the truth, and it's the same story kind of told from different perspectives, kind of Rashomon in that respect, or The Last Duel. McAvoy is really good in this. It's him and Keira Knightley. They have really good chemistry, and it's a romance movie. It's also kind of a war movie. There's 2 different sequences, I think, that have a really nice, like, one long shot to it. So it's extremely well made, well produced, well directed. I think it was nominated for a couple things back in 2007. It remains one of my favorite movies from that era. And yeah, it's advertised as a romance movie, but no, this movie slaps, dude. It's really good. Atonement, go check it out as soon as you can, because I highly recommend it since you've never seen it.
I know. Yeah. I feel like a sense of shame because it's definitely one of those highly acclaimed films. And we're cinema lovers, man. Like, we like good films, whether they're comic book movies or heavy dramas. And early Saoirse Ronan as well. That was like her, I think maybe her very first role. So yeah, definitely need to check that out. Excellent recommendation. And with that, we have reached the end of another episode of Superhero Cinema Club. This was a fun one, Mike. I'm really rooting for you to change your mind by the end of the season and put this film in its rightful place in the pantheon of superhero classics, but we'll see. You'll have to tune into our season finale to find out if Mike changes his mind or not. But in the meantime, we're going to keep it moving with X-Men Apocalypse. That's next up in the X-Men series. It's been a while, Mike. I'm excited to watch this.
We got the post-credit scene in this one for it. Did you see that?
I did, yeah. I guess we didn't talk about it. They finally, speaking of Avengers and the influence, they tacked on their own post-credit scene here with Apocalypse making the pyramids in Egypt, which we know weren't made by humans, so that is a reasonable explanation. Yeah, so excited to check out and yeah. Don't go there again, Mike. That's for our other conspiracy theory podcast. Let's go.
My bad.
Save it for the politics, man. We're excited to revisit X-Men Apocalypse. We hope that you will do that as well and join us on next week's episode of Superhero Cinema Club.
Superhero Cinema Club is hosted by Mark Schiff and me, Mike Carnes. Produced by Mark Schiff. Editing by Mike Carnes. Original music provided by Chris Carnes. Find him on Spotify. Be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us at Superhero Cinema Club, and don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a review. Join us next time as we dive into another epic adventure from the world of superhero cinema.